So today, once again, I've got Brian Wang on. And the thing about having Brian on is, once again, he's one of the few folks in the Tesla community that you would even begin to think could speak to this subject. Maybe Dama, there's a couple of folks out there that might be able to help us with this kind of stuff. We're going to talk about AI, and we're going to talk about the Singularity.
Mm-hmm.
And do I remember correctly that you've actually been to Singularity University or participated somehow?
Yes, I spoke 4 times at Singularity University in the early days when I first started, and then for the next 4 years after, where I would give an annual update on nanotechnology. So Singularity University, for those people who don't know, they would have people kind of doing like a private executive MBA where people would get 40 one-hour lectures from some of the best people on particular subjects. Actually, probably like 100 subjects, usually with 10 tracks, 10 things per, so it would be 100 hours of that. And they pay like $40,000 for those things. It was started by Ray Kurzweil and Pierre Diamandis. Pierre Diamandis started the X Prize, Singularity Summit. Ray Kurzweil wrote the book Singularity is Near. And they started this university to teach people about exponential thinking. So I was there as a lecturer. I knew the people who ran the nanotechnology track, and I got to present what was happening with nanotechnology. Because even though I'm not particularly a nanotechnology physicist or engineer or something like that, I track things in very close detail. I know all the developments that are going on with the company and that kind of thing. So I was able to provide that to the course members. And I met and spoke with Ray Kurzweil and Pierre Diamandis on various topics, including discussing the Singularity.
All right. So I think the entire world right now is mesmerized, or at least paying some attention to the chat GPTs, to the Bing, the Bard, Microsoft's involvement, all the kinds of things that are going on with this whole idea of large language models and AI and how it might apply to robots. And I think the world has finally awakened to the idea that this is happening. And so if you would like to hear more about this subject in the future, hit the like button. If you don't want to hit the like button yet and you want to hear what Brian has to say and hit it later, well, that's fine too. And then hit also the subscribe button. And then, obviously you want to hear about more programs like this in the future. So you want to hit the notify button. And then Brian has a massive blog where things like nanotechnology and AI and the Singularity and SpaceX and and Tesla, et cetera, called nextbigfuture.com. And everybody should go and check out nextbigfuture.com. I think you'll get sucked in. It's if you have any nerdy talent, inclinations at all. If you have any nerd inclinations at all, it will probably become your next TikTok. Where you're just you get there and then all of a sudden you're there and it's like 3 hours have gone by. Did I get that right, Brian?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I was listening to Lex Friedman the other day. He was talking to one of the AI top guys. I'm going to forget who, but they were discussing the idea that the Singularity is almost here. Ray or somebody predicted 2029 would be the year that the
Turing test.
The Turing test gets beat.
Yeah.
All right. I've been on Bard this week, asking it all kinds of questions, and I have to admit that sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I've probably gone too far. I'm asking it too many questions. It's like I have this personal relationship where I'm worried that I shouldn't ask it for 10 more examples. I don't know, Brian. What do you think?
So I think that the Turing testing is the recent discussions have been that it's not that big a deal. Actually, the systems have dumbed themselves down in order to pass the Turing test. Which Turing test being Alan Turing, who helped crack the nasty Enigma code, and then was the father of a lot of computer theory, and also had this idea that computers would be able to simulate humans, so that a person, talking to a human and then talking to a computer wouldn't be able to tell the difference, right? So that is pretty clearly happening, and it's even happening where criminals are using voice replication to fake a kidnapping, to say that they have kidnapped someone's daughter and stuff like that. So, in terms of like not being able to tell, it's gonna be like crazy not being able to tell. But those are important issues, but not relevant to what I think are the impacts of human level and beyond intelligence, and the singularity being when, in a broad way, the collective intelligence of machines is multiple the collective intelligence of humans. Basically, they are a billion times more powerful, and then that means individually the machines are many times more capable than people are. Those are hugely transformative.
So clearly, I mean, I'm going to try to further my own understanding here as we talk, and maybe that'll help people out there to further their understanding. So clearly, the current level of this kind of ChatGPT has more knowledge than I do. Mm-hmm. Clearly, like billions of times more knowledge, because it has access to all the great books. It has access to all of Wikipedia, Encyclopedia Britannica, of all of the internet activity, both correct and incorrect. So it has massive amounts of knowledge. It has way more knowledge than I could ever amass in a single lifetime. It probably even has more knowledge than you, right? So maybe not. But anyway, it's so we know that's a fact. So we agree on that, right? It has more knowledge.
Yeah, and I think Jeffrey Hinton, who's a neural network expert who just left Google, again, a father of neural nets, he was estimating about 1,000 times.
1,000 times a year.
No, 1,000 times more than a human.
Yes.
That in the current systems, right? But then you can make 100,000 copies, and then
Right. Okay. All right. So then the second thing, which I've had conversations with some other folks that are fairly knowledgeable about this stuff, is speed. So the real essence of IQ has to do with your ability to do something quickly.
To learn quickly, yeah.
To learn quickly, or to compute quickly, right. Or to analyze and make analogies or make extrapolations or interpolations quickly. You might be able to learn it or think about it or expand upon it slowly, but if you can do it really quickly, that is indicative of some level of intelligence. So the last I heard is that the current computers were only maybe another power of 10 away from being as fast as the human brain. Is that close to correct, or?
I'm not sure about those measurements in terms of that, because there's they've been doing a lot of testing. Like each time they roll out a GPT-4 or the latest Bard, something like that, Palm 2, they'll have like 100 pages where in a research paper, 100 scientists have put their testing results over to say, how things are faster and better and stuff like that. So the reasoning capabilities and other stuff, it's a very difficult thing to measure, right? It's just complicated to do the test. It could do it, but then to prove it becomes a tougher thing. To measure how much better, how much this, how much that, is difficult. So the ability to do innovative thinking doesn't seem to be quite as good. And that's what goes to the hallucination problem for them coming up with novel things. But inferring stuff from the information you put in seems to be clearly there. The summarizing, improving the summarizing, putting in other better data and stuff like that, that's clearly a capability that is vastly superior at and faster and those kind of things. And then Hinton discussed the fact that one thing learns it, you can then transmit it around. There's, issues with how you do that. So clearly these capabilities will increase, and they will in various fields of endeavor will replace people in terms of work and functions of value.
Yeah, I could already see in terms of the kind of work that I do. I mean, just if I want to do, I do, of course, marketing is my day job, but even this YouTube channel, there's marketing that needs to be done. There needs to be a title. One of the most important parts of a YouTube enterprise is getting great titles that are both alluring, that will cause somebody to be interested in watching, as well as a title that Google likes, that has the right SEO, et cetera, that uses the keywords that Google will give a high opportunity to. And so if I want to do a title, I have since 1994, I've been doing SEO. So I have a tremendous amount of experience doing SEO and picking keywords and trying to use them in sentences and whatnot. I consider it to be one of my better skills in terms of the internet and marketing, is because to write a sentence or to write a paragraph or to write a title that is both interesting and alluring, and at the same time do it in Googleese is a skill set that not many people have. But I can ask it that way. I can ask Bard, I can give him a script. Here's my script, put it right in there, and then say, could you give me 10 examples of headlines that would be both alluring and maximize SEO? Or I can say maximize SEO and less alluring, or maximize alluring and less SEO. I can do all those things, and it can give me multiple headlines, and then I can test those headlines and see if they're doing better than me. That's something that increases my value, as well as potentially increases the speed at which I can do my job.
Yeah. So, but as you said, you already know SEO. You know the questions to ask. You know how to frame the question, and so and also you can check the results. You can see it, and then can get a sense of that. So having knowledge already on the subject is useful. So the people who program, say, oh, got to get 10x programming speed or something like that, which is a huge deal, right? It's people who already understand the concepts, know how to ask the question, know how to frame the question, know the keywords, right? So, but it's easier to get up to that level of knowledge, knowing the keywords, knowing enough about it to be able to make someone productive. So it lessens the learning curve and increases the productivity of people to do things. And that alone would mean a huge deal. It's basically going from farming with a hoe and a shovel to farming with a combine or something like that. It's
or an automated combine.
Or automated combine, right? So then the productivity goes way up. So before we'd have 90% of people doing farming, and 10% of people doing something else, and now we have 2% of people doing farming. Food's still important, but then the level of the few people who are really good at it do that thing, and then the other people have to do other stuff. So that goes to the differentiation of many more activities. The whole thing of the Renaissance period, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, was that you had the beginnings of productivity increase. Like a previous Leonardo or Michelangelo might have potentially been possible before, but then there wasn't enough free time, enough stuff where they could just work on art. Yeah. So that's the explosion of art in 1400, 1500 was because of beginnings of a productivity before Industrial Revolution, but a beginning of a society that had time away from the other stuff, right? So similarly, we'll have time for other things that we'll be able to explore and do new things with time, and also issues of having enough money for food or something that will be no longer an issue, that we will have enough productivity that you should be able to distribute. If you have a 100 times richer society, more productive society, you should be able to figure out how to get so that no one has to worry about stuff. Then the question of motivations become in. How do people have value in their lives separate from how much money and productivity and other things they have?
But like a fish in water that doesn't know he's in water, the folks before the Renaissance would have never thought, oh, if I had more time and I didn't have to care so much about eating, I would probably put more time into my art. Mm-hmm. It was never on there. It was never a thought in their mind. So we don't know today what explosion of creativity, what explosion of artistic capabilities, what explosion of new ways or new thoughts about how to live life might come out of a time that, like you said, all our basic needs are basically fundamentally taken care of.
I have some theories around that. So one thing is that what differentiates us from the machines is that people can own things. So I'd be hugely against machines being able to own stuff, because that's actually one of the huge differences. That I can own 20 robotaxis, right? Just like I can own vending machines. I can own 100 Tesla bots doing the work, right? So that's a huge difference. The other thing is that the Voyager robotic spacecraft was the first man-made object to make it to Saturn and other places and like that. But we celebrate Neil Armstrong going to the moon, right? So humans doing it first, I think, will still matter, right? And when we work together with the machines go out first, scout out an area, do stuff in terms of the solar system, right? And the solar system being 1 billion times bigger, more resources, all that kind of stuff. So building and conquering that out, sending your TikTok from the orbit of Europa, going to an asteroid number 1 billion, sticking the flag on it, taking the selfie of yourself with that, sending it back, that becomes a thing. The exploration thing, that we all can become Christopher Columbus, exploring the solar system instead of just this, and then going beyond that to explore and do new things. That us all becoming the James T. Kirk explorer, right? Going out into the solar system with a support crew of Tesla bots and things like that becomes a huge thing, because like a lot of things to discover in the solar system, finding it, going to the, Olympus Mons on Mars, or going into the tunnels of the moon or something like that. I think there's a lot of stuff to be done that would be entertaining, interesting, and being the first to do stuff, because we already have the economy of YouTube, of Instagram, of stuff like that, the attention economy, as opposed to I'm at home on my sofa doing something, I'm on a spaceship on doing stuff there. So I think that can be a huge part of it, because we should want to conquer space. Right. And then going beyond the solar system is something to do. That I think that would be purposeful, and actually kind of mimicking Star Trek. Star Trek talks about that the Captain Picard and those kind of things aren't concerned about money anymore, and that they're concerned about achieving things. Right. So working together to use the tools to have bigger goals. Right. Bigger goals, more fulfilling goals to have humanity go out and do stuff, combined with machines to go for bigger goals.
All right. So coming back to my education here, well, by the way, that not to say that wasn't fascinating. I hadn't thought about the concept of owning things. That's a good one. I want to add that to my list. All right. So then, the next level, if I understand it correctly right now, is this idea of the machine, the learned content, then being resubmitted into the data, and then regurgitated or reanalyzed,
processed,
and then it has another level of understanding which it can then send back into the data. And so it's basically teaching itself. Do I have that half right?
Yeah. There's a recursive, what's called recursive, when you take the result and feed it back into the system. That's auto GPT type things, where you have one prompt one question, it gets a result, and then it regenerates a new prompt and feeds it back in, and then does stuff, which could be done for research, can be done for many other purposes, to multi-step to achieve that kind of thing. But the issue is that because it has hallucination, where it like makes stuff up, right? Because, we can do that too, where it's like, if you have cabin fever or something like that, you go in and then you start looking at just some books, and then, I have a brilliant idea. I think this is solving everything. And you start writing page after page of stuff or typing it all in. And then pretty soon you have your 500-page thesis, which also become your 500-page manifesto, right? So because you went off the rails and then you've started to think about stuff. So the machine can do that faster, where it can go off and thinks, I see this and that connected. It shouldn't be connected. I made a mistake. But then it starts building up. No, this is correct. And then so it makes up this stuff. So you have to be careful with that. You have to solve that issue. But in terms of the feeding back into itself, it can reiterate and learn the stuff. But you have to have the checks to confirm that it's not screwing up along the way.
So I know that a lot of my inventiveness, and I've invented a lot of stuff, a lot of products, I have a few patents. My inventiveness usually comes from looking at something and going, oh my gosh, that could be done so much better. Or looking at two things and going, oh my gosh, if you combine those. Or seeing a need and going, nothing's filling that need. Is there a time when these automated systems, when these AI systems would search for and then be able to recognize that a human need is not being filled by the current? Would you be able to put in a product, say, okay, here's the best product in the world right now to do this, and here are the human needs that it's filling, and here's all the advertising and all the marketing that's ever been done about that product. How could we improve it?
Right. So again, the fact that we can own and the fact that we're the one buying means that whatever the result is, we're still the one validating it. We're saying, yes, I will buy that thing. So, if it's a company making the stuff, I got the choice between this iPhone, that Android, and blah, 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 and improved. It's still us choosing what it is. So we're the one, it's our experience that is the one that is being enhanced, right? So the ultimate judge of this is good is still us. Like if, we get all the art submitted by the grade A class, and we say, that's good. We don't have to have concern about Timmy's feelings because it's Robo Timmy. So I can say, yes, this is good. So we're still the one choosing that. Yeah. So that is still our role of saying, here's the direction we're going to go with that, right? And voting with our resources and money about what's going to matter, right? And then it's still people determining, still like OpenAI, Microsoft driving their GPT-4, it's Google driving their Bard, Tesla's going to come out with their XAI, right? There'll still be competition. The other thing is that we're going to be, just like I, work together with my phone, with my laptop, we'll have individual resources, right? And the individual resources will increase so that, I have a Tesla bot C3PO that has 100 times, 1,000 times the compute power of this thing. And, I could have 100 of those. So the amount of resources that could accrue to each individual, just like I have more resources than many kings of 1,000 years ago, the person 10, 20 years from now with 100 Tesla bots could have more resources than, a billionaire today, right?
So then if I take that concept, then I can actually apply it to information.
Yeah.
So I think you've mentioned to me before, you could put in to your own set of data. You could individualize your data and say, okay, I want this book and that book to be downloaded. This article from 1953 that I happen to still have in my archives, I want to put that in the data. So I have my own data set. Mm-hmm. Then I might train the data using my own skill sets and my own intelligence. I might train the data, add content, and then train it on itself.
Yeah,
have it training itself and in increasing. And at some point, I've got a data set that nobody else has about a subject matter.
Right.
And that might be the cutting edge data set or something that's useful that would then be valuable to sell as a data set.
Right. Right. And then having the resources, the sensors and the scanners and stuff to, like, if you go to the asteroid, you're the only one scanning that asteroid in detail. You're the one measuring the materials there. So then you can generate unique and useful data by going out to gather it. So you become applying your resources. There's like, hey, there's stuff that needs to be gathered, analyzed there, and then contributing to the wealth of human knowledge. There will be issues around attribution, intellectual property, around other things. Because right now they're taking the work product, the life work of millions of people for art going into Midjourney and stuff like that, right? So it's being stolen in an industrial scale. So if you're replacing them, you have to find some way to make sure the people who did come up with that are rewarded, right? So then they need to trace that as to what's happening. Yeah.
All right. Well, Ryan, fascinating as always. I hope it's as fascinating to you in the listening audience as it was to me. If you liked it, please hit like so that we know we should do more of this. Subscribe and hit notifications and go to Brian's blog, The Next Big Future. Hit his Patreon and send him $1 or $5 or $10 a month or something like that. I don't know what your numbers are. Do you start at $1?
I don't think I start $1, but I think
I started $5.
I think you put in your own numbers into that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so Brian, thank you again for all that you do for the channel, and thank all of you for listening and for supporting the channel in any way that you do. If it's nothing more than just listening and hitting like, and it's been great talking to you today.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.